ask?
Well, I wanted to ask, it's a bit of both, really. So my understanding of the Dark Ages, it also as you corrected me, or I don't know if it was in the correction itself, because I just mentioned that Dark Ages of regardless to whether it's religious history or not, it's what you're saying. Anyway, Jesus' Dark Ages posed a lot of problems for me.
What do you mean by Jesus' Dark Ages?
Well, was there a period of time, correct me if I'm wrong, was there not a period of time from Jesus going off into, some people are saying that he
So there was that bit of his life that isn't covered in the
not
Gospels.
documented.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. But the thing that you've got to remember is, if you look at the biographies of Jesus that are written in the Gospels, and you compare them to the kinds of biographies that are written of other major characters in history of the same period, the format and the model of the biography is the same. Because biographies in the ancient world were not something like we might write a biography today, where you talk about each part of their life in equal chapters that covers systematically their beginning, the middle and the end. That's a modern way of writing.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the ancient world, you wrote about those things that were most important about the person. So in some of the histories about the Caesars, their biography is like a speech that they gave before a major battle. Why? Because that major battle was seen as the high point of their life. The biography of the Christ is about his passion and resurrection. If you look at the Gospel of Mark, it gives you half the chapters talking about Christ before the Passion, and then from about the midway section, it's all about him going up to Jerusalem. It's all about him being crucified and about the resurrection. So it talks about the importance part of his life.
But how do we know that Dark Ages of Jesus Christ wasn't as important as the documented era?
Because
it wasn't documented equals that it's not important?
No, because what we have within the life of Christ is his ministry, which lasted about 3 years. Now that ministry was the fulfillment, his life was the fulfillment of Old Testament prophecies. There were Old Testament prophecies that were beyond Christ's ability to control. They were beyond his ability to control other people. That for them to be fulfilled, they had other people all to work together. Okay? And when you look at all these prophecies and see them stacking up, it points towards Jesus as being the fulfillment of prophecies that predate him by hundreds of years. Now that means that if you have an historical account that is fulfilling prophecies that were written long before that historical account, and is then supported as history by other historical accounts, by other historians confirming that historical narrative that you find in the Gospels.
Some historians,
Yes, well, all the major ones of the time. Then what you have is you have a sort of miraculous evidence for the truth of the Christian faith, and a historical evidence for the truth of the Christian faith. So I'll give you an example of that if you want.
Please.
So the fact that Christ was crucified on a cross, contradicts the Quran, for instance. Contradicts the Quran. The Quran says Christ was never crucified on a cross. But the Gospels, which are first century literature, written by the followers of Jesus, say that he was. And then later historians of antiquity, pagan and Jewish, as well as Christian, all confirm the narrative that Christ was crucified on a cross. But that crucifixion is actually prophesied in the Psalms. It's actually prophesied in the book of Isaiah, literature that predates the actual events that are confirmed by later historians, confirmed by the Gospels.
Okay.
So I'm going to show you. Okay.
And do you believe in like Christophanies? You know, in regards to like people like Melchizedek and
Christophanies, theophanies.
is that
They're called theophanies.
Okay, I thought it was a Christophany.
Yeah, they're called theophanies.
Just to be clear, your only evidence is the text, right? You make a big talk about evidence and what can be objective, but then when it comes to actual evidence, you're referring to the text.
Yes, we're referring to the text. Yeah. So, in the book of Isaiah, which is written hundreds of years before Christ's life, in chapter 53, it speaks like this. Now, I'm not going to read everything. I just want to zoom in on a particular part. Okay? Right? So, this is a description of the Messiah. A man of sorrows and acquainted with grief, and like one from whom men hide their face. He was despised, and we did not esteem him. Surely our griefs he himself bore, and our sorrows he carried. Yet we ourselves esteemed him stricken, smitten of God and afflicted, but he was pierced through for our transgressions. Okay?
Yeah.
Right? Now, what happened on the cross?
Yeah, he was. They pierced
him through.
Yeah, I understand that.
Okay. Now,
See where you. Yeah.
this was something that could not be in Christ's control. Okay? The Romans had many forms of execution. Christ could have died by the beating that he received. Yeah?
Absolutely.
They scourged him and whipped him, and that in itself had been known to kill people.
Yeah.
Okay? But he survived that, and they pierced him through, both with a lance and nails. Okay? That is all beyond his control. Now, in the Gospels, you know well that it talks about Christ being crucified. Okay? But there's also historians from antiquity that confirm the fact that Christ was crucified.
They were, sorry, who?
Historians.
Okay.
From, so Josephus is a historian from antiquity. He's writing 37 to 120 AD. And in his book, Antiquities, he states clearly that Christ was crucified under Pontius Pilate. Tacitus, writing in 55 AD to 117 AD, states clearly that Christ was crucified. Now, if on one hand, I put it to you, and this is a question to you directly.
Yeah.
Say we have claims and counterclaims. Some people say Christ wasn't crucified, and other people say that he was. If we have prophecies predating the crucifixion, and then we have historians confirming the crucifixion after the event, and then we have some people saying that the crucifixion never happened and some people saying that the crucifixion happened, which one of them is making a statement of truth?
Well, this is what I mean. It's the point of the word truth behind it. I would say the word is more accurate. Essentially, because you're saying it's truth, that means there's no falsity in it. The truth is this is absolute. You see what I mean?
Go on.
So this is the issue. That you can look at text, and essentially we look at text to support what we believe, don't we?
Yeah? In historical investigation.
In historical in most investigation, most people that investigate have an idea of what they're trying to get across.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, it's not that I'm disregarding what these texts say. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that there are lots of things that. Sorry. I have a business I run as well on Sunday. Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is that I understand where you're coming from, but for me, that's one element. That's to prove that Jesus was put on a cross. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then there's the next one, which would be that he was the Son of God, and that he he did this for our sins.
Yeah.
So then there's having to prove that.
Well, let's just stick with the crucifixion for the moment, because what we're trying to get to is what truth is.
Yeah. Well,
I would put it to you that truth is that narrative which most accurately corresponds to reality.
Yeah.
So it's that
we all have different realities.
No, but we don't. There are certain things that are subjective realities.
Yeah.
Like whether you like a cheeseburger or not.
Yeah,
That's
for
a
sure,
subjective
I get
reality,
I get it.
right?
But
It
what
can't
makes
be
that an
argued
objective
with.
reality?
Right, but an objective reality is the fact that we're all stood here
Yeah.
in Hyde Park.
Absolutely.
That is an objective reality because it is a narrative
Yeah.
that corresponds to the reality.
Yeah, but then in 1700 years' time, when they were trying to find out whether we did stand here,
They'd look at the videos.
but if in those times, this is the issue.
Exactly.
Exactly.
They'd look at the documents. And
Well,
what
yeah.
do all the documents say?
Yeah.
The
but-
documents before Christ's crucifixion prophesy that the Messiah would be crucified. The Gospels proclaim that he was crucified, and the historians of antiquity confirm that he was crucified. So all the evidence confirms that Christ was crucified.
But there are some historians that don't agree with that.
Such as?
Well, I can't name the historians at hand,
They're-
but I've watched and I've
I
read.
only know,
Yeah.
I personally, I
Yeah.
can't remember his name either, but I personally only know of one credible historian who is a mythologist.
Okay.
And he is contradicted by virtually every other historian of antiquity. Bart Ehrman,
Okay.
Bart Ehrman,
Yeah.
who is a historian of the 1st century,
Yeah.
says that it is an undeniable fact that Christ was crucified. Bruce Metzger, who was the teacher of Bart Ehrman and also a historian of the 1st century, says that Christ was crucified.
Right.
Even there's a Muslim historian called Sumat Haslan. He's got a name like he's from The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, but he's a
Yeah.
Muslim historian, and he himself says someone who looked like Christ was crucified. So even Muslims historians who engage with the evidence are forced to deal with the fact that someone who was identified as Christ died on a cross. So why would you not accept that?
Because it's for a person to go through these, I have to go through the history. Yeah, I have to go
Yeah.
through all the books and I have to read it, which I haven't as much as you.
Fair
have,
enough, that's
yeah?
absolutely fine.
So that's another process that I have to go through. But in regards to historians, you know, that we look at, for example, there's the narrative of the history in religion and Christianity, because there are so many people involved in it, because it's a religious element, that's why there is more evidence supported, more presented. But then when you look at for the history of, say, the pyramids or something,
Yeah.
historians are constantly arguing with one another. It couldn't have taken this amount of time.
But no one, hold on one second.
Yeah.
They might be arguing about how the Egyptians built the pyramids, but
Yeah.
no one's arguing that the Egyptians didn't build the pyramids.
Yeah, they are. There's lots of people.
No.
Graham Hancock, for example,
Oh,
people like that.
what's he saying? That the Egyptians did not build the
He's
pyramids?
saying that the Egyptians
Aliens
that
did it.
live. No. This is what I'm trying to say. It's not necessarily just because we don't know who it is. It can't happen. It can't have happened. What I'm trying to say is that when you look at the evidence to weigh up when the pyramids happened, they said that the Egyptians obviously lived amongst the pyramids, yeah, and that they were there.
And their hieroglyphics are everywhere.
The hieroglyphics were everywhere, yeah.
And their practice of mummification is historically documented by the Egyptian culture, in the Egyptian culture.
Absolutely, but how do we not know that the Egyptians, while they were living there, they just used these tombs, to bury their kings in, because they also only found.
Does not the fact that but here, I want to try and cut to the chase.
No, I get it, but what I'm trying to say is,
I want to put it to you that you represent a phenomena that happens a lot in our society, and is probably even shared by many of the viewers of Content Over Everything and So-Called Films. That there is this unwillingness to deal with objective truth because we have been brought up to doubt all truth claims in our society. There's a culture of radical skepticism that permeates our culture that makes a nonsense of historical or scientific or philosophical or rational inquiry. And what you're doing is you're replicating that sentiment now.
This is a rational inquiry.
Yeah.
As a human being, not to just say, okay, So I went to a Christian school,
Yeah.
and my priest and my father told me Jesus Christ is the way and the light, and that's it. That's the end of it. So when we talk about Christ being love and feeling it in your soul, so everything that is exemplified by Jesus for me is love. Yeah, but I don't see it in the Christians. They don't exemplify that type of love when I see them speak of Jesus. So this is you can't look. We're all souls that we're trying to seek. Some people are not trying to seek. So let's not stamp on the people that are trying to seek.
No one's,
just for the case of
no one's
they're trying to seek. Because you also went on that journey yourself.
No
didn't
one's.
you?
Yeah. I for me, it was a journey between choosing between Islam and Christianity, and I chose Christianity.
Yeah.
Let me just.
So I'm at that stage as well.
Yeah, but what I'm saying to you, bro. What I'm saying to you, bro, is that. And again, this is something that I encounter a lot. I mean, I don't know if you know, but I speak to lots of people. And very often, lots of people reject Christianity because of some childhood experience. And you have referenced that childhood experience at least 2 or 3 times in your conversation with me.
Okay, that's where the journey started.
1 second.
Yeah.
So it is because of a childhood experience that you have come to question the Christian faith. And what I'm saying to you is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But now you're a man, stop harping back to your childhood experience and deal with the evidence that is presented in front of you.
Okay, but I was just presenting the start of my journey.
Yeah, that's fine.
I haven't progressed into the different stages of where I am.
It's
So,
clearly
it's
formed it's clearly formed your emotional self, because what you're saying is that
That's not an educated assumption.
because as a child you were told things and you didn't find you were able always to argue against those things.
No, to question and to gain answers from.
Right,
you know.
but what I notice, and what everyone here will notice, is the absence of questions.